This is a reading of the Freedom Haven Draft Constitution. The Constitution of the Federalized States of Freedom Haven, Draft Version 0.40, last updated November 10, 2018. More information at freedomhaven.org. Links also down below in the description. Preamble. We the individual people, in order to secure the right to defend ourselves, to limit the scope of government, and to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, so that we can have the chance to learn, grow, and work towards achieving our greatest individual divine potentials, so that through our efforts, and without compulsory means, prosperity may flow unto us forever and ever, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the federalized states that form the country of Freedom Haven. We recognize that freedom is an essential ingredient for the individuals to achieve their greatest potential. We hold to the philosophy of liberty as a means to improve upon the life that we have. The initiation of force is immoral and harmful. Any government or any system of force, compulsion, or coercion will naturally try to grow in scope over time. We oppose such expansion. This Constitution is established for the purpose of preserving the highest degree of freedom possible for each individual while preserving the individual's right to self-defense. It is also meant to be chains to limit what government can do. Article 1, Definitions. These definitions are written in logical order, not in order of importance. Understanding all these definitions is essential to understanding the intentions of this Constitution. Force, or compulsion, or coercion, is defined as taking or destroying or threatening to take or destroy someone else's life, freedom, and or property. Freedom, or liberty, is defined as living life with the least amount of force or threat of force used against you as possible. Freedom is a God-given natural right and exists in the absence of any government. Government cannot create freedom. It can only preserve, protect, restore, or suppress it. Freedom is the ability to use your life and property according to your will, as long as it does not take away from someone else's freedom to do the same with their life and property. Freedom is what you are naturally able to do in the absence of someone threatening to murder you, kidnap you, and or steal and or destroy your property. For example, we claim the privilege of worshiping God according to the dictates of our conscience and allow all men the same privilege. Let them worship how, where, or what they may. Life means sentient human life. This is any human with human DNA that has their own unique brain activity, regardless of their skin color, gender, beliefs, disabilities, actions, history, intentions, or location. A human body that does not have any brain activity for a documented extended period of time, aka brain dead or vegetative state, is the property of their legal guardians. Property, or tangible property, is anything that you can touch which can be owned. You cannot own another sentient human being. You and only you own your body while you are alive. Long-term actions that deliberately intend to produce sleep deprivation can cause brain damage, which is property damage. And if that leads to deliberate death, then this is murder. Deliberately damaging someone's hearing through loud noise is also property damage, but it is expected in certain areas where loud noise is expected that people take their own precautions within reason to prevent hearing damage. The only items government recognizes as property are tangible property. Control over intangible or virtual items, which you cannot touch, such as information, perceived value, ideas, processes, etc., are not God-given natural rights. People may choose to keep their intangible items concealed from others or secure them within their rights of their own tangible property, but they may not attempt to control intangible items through the use of force on others. You are not justified in using force to control what happens to intangible items once they have left the control of your tangible property. Tangible property shall exist as either land, non-portable property, or portable property. Land property ownership. Multiple public decentralized databases should be kept by the people that record who owns which lands in Freedom Haven, which with clear boundaries defined so that conflicts can be avoided. Where two or more individuals assert a claim to the same land, the right of the claimant able to assert the best claim is to be respected. The criteria with which the best claim is determined shall include the time at which the claim was first publicly asserted and the use to which the claimants have put the land to. The greater the use, the greater the claim. Lands shall extend above to the height of the space occupied by the tallest owned solid structure, and below to beyond the depth needed to maintain a very stable foundation of all structures on the owned land. No person or group of people may own all the residence property surrounding someone else's residence property without allowing them and their portable possessions instant, reasonable, free access to enter or leave the residence property at that person's own will and timing. All people should have the freedom of movement to and from any residence property. Portable residence property. Any piece of portable property that can house one or more living humans is considered a portable residence property. The laws of a portable residence property are the same as the laws of the land that they reside on. If they do not reside on an owned piece of land, then the laws are the same as the outermost portable residence property they reside in or on. If they do not reside on an owned piece of land, nor in or on another portable residence property, then they can choose their own laws within the limitations of this Constitution. A property owner controls the use of their property. Any property that has multiple, any property that people own and can give legal consent regarding may be voluntarily exchanged between consenting individuals, but they bear the legal burden of showing proof that such a voluntary transfer took place. Violations of mutually voluntarily consented contracts involving property can be seen as theft of that property and therefore may sometimes justify the use of force by anyone the property owner authorizes to ensure all property ends up with its legal owner, according to the contract. A residence property owner may evict anyone on their residence property for any reason at any time unless a voluntarily signed contract removes some or all of this eviction right, but a realistic amount of time must be allowed to reasonably vacate the premises. Contracts are responsible for covering what happens regarding reimbursement, if any, in the event of an eviction. Murder is ending sentient human life without consent unless it is required for self-defense. Kidnapping is taking away freedom without consent unless it is required for self-defense, which includes but is not limited to the following examples if no consent is given: restraining, which includes rape; imprisoning; blocking access to enter or exit property that you have authority or permission to enter; providing addictive recreational drugs or other addictive substances. Theft is taking, destroying, using, or damaging property without consent unless it is needed for self-defense. This includes the following: robbery, invasion, trespassing, arson, vandalism, using someone else's property without their consent. This includes rape, which is physically using someone else's body for sexual intercourse without their consent. Defensive force, or self-defense, is using force only to defend your life from a murderer, your property from a thief, invader, trespasser, arsonist, vandal, rapist, etc., or your freedom from a kidnapper, rapist, etc. Government is any person or group of persons using force regardless of whether the use was justified or not. To the people of Freedom Haven, government and force are synonymous. Anyone using force is government, and government only exists when force or the threat of force is present. Extradition is capturing an individual and sending them to a foreign government to answer for crimes against that foreign government that are not also crimes against the laws of Freedom Haven. Pollution, to be determined. Article 2, Rights. There are no rights but those that exist for all people. No third party can take away an individual's rights. All rights are based on the truth of self-ownership. Life, freedom, and property. Each individual person has the right to maintain and control his or her personal life, personal freedom, and personal property. Defensive force. Force is only sometimes justified to defend someone's life, freedom, and or property. Since governments naturally grow in scope over time, this Constitution is established to block that growth so that the least amount of force that is required is used to defend life, freedom, and or property, and the greatest amount of freedom is preserved. An imperfect execution of justified government action does not justify an expansion of government authority. All people are permitted to arm themselves with whatever weapons they believe is needed to defend themselves and others, with the exception of nuclear and biological weapons, which are forbidden. Private property owners are permitted to further restrict weapons within their boundaries for the safety of their property. Since we oppose the expansion of government, only the minimal amount of force needed should be used in a particular situation so that the situation is not escalated. This requires self-restraint when using force. While it is good to be honest with your feelings, we should aspire to be full of love and compassion. It is better to act out of love for that which you are protecting than out of hate for the person who threatens that which you're protecting. All property owners have the right to expel anyone from their property or deny access to their property for any reason they wish. Individuals may disagree with the reason the property owner gives or may think the reason is invalid, but this does not justify violating that person's property. We the people are the government. Neither the government of Freedom Haven nor any organization has any rights except those rights which exist for each individual person. The government may not use force except the minimum needed to stop murder, kidnapping, or theft, as defined in this document. Any individual has the right to defend life, freedom, and or property, as defined in this document, but when such force is used, that individual or group of individuals is, in that moment, part of the government and is subject to the limitations contained within this Constitution. The emphasis of government should not be to punish or condemn people. The emphasis of government should not be to punish or condemn people for their actions, but instead to protect life, freedom, and or property. People can change and improve, and government should not stand in the way of people becoming better than who they were. The emphasis should be on providing mercy to those who seek to fix what they broke, and not in handing out justice. Establishment of states. The boundaries of a privately owned land or portable residence property that doesn't exist inside the boundaries of another privately owned land or portable residence constitutes a state. Each state owner may have his or her own specific laws for their state for implementing this Constitution within their boundaries, with the following conditions. All people should have reasonable notification of and access to the documented laws that exist within a state with reasonable advance warnings of law changes. All people should have reasonable, timely access to what each state's laws are. Each individual who legally enters another state should be notified of the laws when that they will be required to comply with within the boundary of that property. This suggests brevity of the laws. States may use the laws of another state. Having multiple states using the same laws makes it easier for trade in goods to cross boundaries. If one person's portable residence property is inside another person's portable residence property or land property, the laws of the outermost property take precedence. If a land property isn't part of the equation, then the outermost portable residence will take precedence. A person should not bring their portable residence property onto another person's land or portable residence property unless they consent to abide by the associated laws. If individuals cause any damage to another individual's property, owners may also establish reasonable ways for people on their land or portable residence property to fully repay or repair any damages they cause. The same may also be explored for loss of freedom or loss of life. A person is responsible for fixing the damage they cause regardless of whether the damage was caused intentionally or by accident. Government or voluntary non-government mediation may be used to resolve issues between states of freedom haven, but this needs to be done in an orderly, publicly understood, and publicly visible process. Consent. Consent must be recorded in a way that it can be proven in court that consent was indeed given. If individuals are accused of using force, they shall be presumed innocent until proven guilty, but consent is assumed not to have been given unless it can be proven. If individuals are shown to have used force, they must prove their self-defense justification, consent given, or else be in violation of this required limitation of force. Consent cannot be given to certain subject areas until after a certain age. Life. You can give consent regarding your life at age 21, which means you can agree to assisted suicide, etc. You can defend your life at any age. Freedom. You can give consent to give up your freedom or liberty by using addictive substances or trade your own slavery in exchange for products or services, indentured servitude or debt, etc. at age 18, on condition that an end date is specified in the contract. Overcoming any addictions acquired, which were properly communicated ahead of time, will be the individual's responsibility. Property. You can give consent regarding your property, minus your own body, at age 8. Your legal guardian can provide the consent until that age. You can provide consent regarding your body at age 18. Power of attorney. Consent can be legally granted to another for a period of time if the person wishes, after that person is old enough to legally give that consent themselves. Sufficient witnesses of this event are required so that this can hold up in court. In all things, consent is required to be documented in a way that would hold up as evidence in court if needed. Consent can only be provided by the individual or someone with power of attorney. Consent cannot be determined by the vote of the majority. No taxation, no rights to government services. Taxation is theft and is forbidden. The government may not steal to fund its efforts. No government services are a right. If individuals want a service but do not want to pay for it, they will have to find someone who is willing to offer that service for free. If no one volunteers to do that service to them for free, then the service does not have to be offered. Individual people bear the ultimate responsibility to defend their own lives, freedoms, and properties. Individuals may also grant authority to others to provide security for them. An individual's right to self-defense shall not be taken away unless that individual can be proven to be initiating force against others. For example, a shooter shoots an innocent person and the people nearby take the shooter's gun away and detain the shooter. Each individual has the responsibility to be vigilant in order to protect his or her freedoms, property, and life. Each individual is encouraged to document each instance of tyranny so that force is not used beyond self-defense. Only the property owner may impose fees for physical access to or the use of their property. No external government, group, or individual may impose such fees or tariffs. Privacy. Government shall not have any rights to privacy. Government must provide timely public visibility into all actions it performs. Individuals not using force may choose to implement privacy, but not at the cost of another individual's rights to his or her own life, freedom, or property. Privacy is best achieved by having control over your own tangible property. Individual rights trump any vote of the majority. The vote of the majority shall never take away the rights of the individual as listed above. No extradition. There will be no extradition from Freedom Haven. The governments of foreign nations which seek any individual currently in Freedom Haven who broke those foreign nations' laws may choose to arrest them in their own respective nations, but they should not come to Freedom Haven seeking to arrest them in Freedom Haven. Neither should they expect Freedom Haven to extradite said individuals unless the individual has committed crimes worthy of banishment from Freedom Haven according to the laws of the corresponding state of Freedom Haven. Representatives of those foreign nations are welcome to visit the states of Freedom Haven with the consent of the state property owner, as long as they abide by the laws of that state and do not threaten another individual's life, freedom, or property. No individual in Freedom Haven, including the representatives of another nation, is given special rights that are not also available to all individuals. Representatives of other nations will be required to abide by the laws in accordance with this Constitution of Freedom Haven, just like everyone else. Foreign nations may choose to prosecute members of Freedom Haven for laws that the individual has broken in the Freedom Haven state they reside, in accordance with those state laws. Courts should be wary of evidence provided by foreign countries, since those countries may have an incentive to frame the innocent with falsified evidence so that they can circumvent the no extradition restriction. Limitation. In addition to any other limitations listed above, any use of force or government action not justified in this Constitution is forbidden and in violation of individuals' rights. Any laws, regulations, executive orders, etc. passed in Freedom Haven that are in conflict with this Constitution are considered null and void and shall not be recognized by Freedom Haven's courts, security forces, police, army, etc., or residents. Article 3. Borders and boundaries. Freedom Haven claims all of the various internal waters, territorial waters, exclusive economic zone, and other areas that exist for foreign nations. Any person and their property is welcome inside these national boundaries, conditional on their adherence to this Constitution and the laws of any state they visit. All people are considered visitors of Freedom Haven until they obtain their citizenship. To become a citizen, a person must have completed all of the following: have been present at Freedom Haven for more than 50% of the time over the previous year, or be the owner of a state for at least a month. Be in full compliance with this Constitution and or made full repairs for any damages caused. Sign an affidavit of governance that requests their mother or father country stay out of Freedom Haven's affairs and asserts Freedom Haven as an independent governed nation. Citizens of Freedom Haven are free to also keep their previous citizenships from their home country. Freedom Haven citizenship can be revoked if a person is banished from Freedom Haven for failing to comply with this Constitution. Any private property, land, or portable residence may also become an extension of Freedom Haven as a new state member of the Federation of States in the country of Freedom Haven upon their covenanting to uphold this Constitution and the freedom of the people. Any property owned by anyone not willing to follow this Constitution is not welcome within the above-mentioned boundaries of Freedom Haven. In addition to whatever is granted as a country's right according to global norms, the country of Freedom Haven claims ownership to all water, land, and air within their contiguous zone, 24 miles out, until anyone who is willing to abide by this Constitution lays physical claim to that water, land, or air by enclosing it, at which point it will become property of that person and the state they represent. Any damages, such as pollution, as defined above, to the water, land, or air before it is claimed, as stated above, are not allowed. And any claimed water, land, or air that is damaged in this manner may not be returned to this area owned by the country of Freedom Haven until the damage has first been repaired. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and also join us in our online discussion on Facebook. Links are below.